Oh my god, there we go. Sorry. Oh, our intro came in and I was like dying for a cough.
What a way to start the episode, mate.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
Your stoner cough just decides to kick in immediately.
And like we like sparked a joint and didn't get a drink before we started this episode. So you're gonna have to intro this episode whilst I get a drink.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. And let us know if you can hear us as well. Just in case the audio is like not working. But we've got some interesting topics to discuss with you guys this week. A lot of crazy culture war shit has been going down, and I don't really want to talk about that. I feel like this show is like a nice break from that, so we're not gonna go into any of that shit. Maybe we'll like talk a little bit about some of it at the beginning, but we're not gonna go too deeply into that shit. J. George says Jake looking like a stoner Fidel Castro. Oh my god. Stoner Fidel Castro.
You know what, dude?
I like it. It suits you.
Stoner Fidel Castro, I'll fucking take that.
Okay,
I'll take that.
Our audio is fine.
Fidel Castro, I feel like, was one of the greatest Chads of history.
All right.
You know?
Okay.
Survived how many CIA assassination attempts? Like, I feel like, you know...
So you're flattered by
had the most Chad beard of all Chad beards known to, like, you know, mankind, probably. Some of the most masculine facial hair going. So if someone wants to compare me to that, I'm like, ooh, I'm all down with that.
You're flattered by the comparison to Fidel Castro. As a masculine archetype.
I am,
but... It'd be like if someone called you Genghis Khan or something.
I don't think Fidel Castro would drink chocolate milk.
Is that what you're drinking right now?
It is, yeah.
Because I thought you were drinking soju because Jake has developed a chronic soju addiction recently.
It's pretty great. I love soju.
It's all downhill from here, dude. Soju's a dangerous thing to tinker around with.
What was the one we had in that place that was like izakaya-esque? It was sort of like, it's like fizzy peach. Was it soju
no, it
or
wasn't.
sake?
It was sake.
Fuck, dude. If I can find me where I can buy some of that. Jake has
discovered the joys of rice, like liquors and like Asian liquors, but that stuff is crazy. It's too much, and I've had Korean friends like throughout my life, and it's just too much. Like the nights when you're drinking with them get very messy very quickly.
That's because
it's the kind of alcohol that goes straight to your fucking head.
Hey, I don't want to sound all you know, genealogy or whatever the fuck. How do they call it? Phrenology.
Jake's about to drop his phrenology take or whatever.
Or some bad stuff. But I did remember, I think I had an Asian friend that told me that genetically Asian people are more allergic or allergic in general to alcohol. Which is why they turn red, which is why they have Asian blush is what she.
If that's true, then I think I have the same thing, or whatever that condition is, because I'm like a very easy drunk.
No, I think you're just a lightweight.
I'm a cheap date. Like I've never been able to really like drink to like an adult degree.
Or maybe it was just like one of the graphs in the study where they made all those racist graphs, and it was like the races that can take alcohol and like drink alcohol the best, whites being the best, with like who would be the second best alcohol drinkers after the whites?
I don't know. They can drink in Asia. Like when I was in China, people had like a healthy drinking culture there.
But I don't think they can drink that much. I think they literally have like a couple of glasses and like, yeah, fucking pie. And you're just like,
I think you're just really racist, you're like dropping stereotypes right now, Jake. And in this season of cancel culture, as a white man, are you really sure you want people digging into your past?
Digging into my past?
Yeah, your past. Like we've been to Oxfordshire. We ran into 2 of your exes.
Yeah.
Once.
So.
That's a weird story. We once ran into 2 of Jake's exes at once.
You love to tell the story.
Which shows that you got around. You clearly got around Oxfordshire a little bit.
But why do you like to tell the story so much?
I just think it's funny.
That you bagged a boisterous lad that used to be a man about town.
Maybe it is some sort of.
And you managed to tame him.
Maybe it is some kind of feminine bragging thing. Now that I think about it unconsciously, like maybe I am like beating my chest or some shit. No, I don't think so. I just think it's really funny that we ran into two of them, which indicates that you got around a bit.
I had 2 ex-girlfriends.
And you're making racist jokes, Jake.
Making racist jokes?
So
how?
it's like double crimes in Barbie Land. Double the crimes in Barbie
I make
Land.
racist jokes just me and you when we're at home, just for fun.
You're in Barbie Land. That's like a really serious, punishable offense. So I'd be careful if I were you. You know.
Well, luckily we're in Kendom of Jake Land.
And racist jokes are fine. They're totally tolerated.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, anyway, moving
this
on
week we wanted to talk about
today's topic, which is
AI
related
lawsuits.
Yeah. This is something that's not getting talked about. And it should be. It's being overshadowed by all the Russell Brand stuff, which is just kind
I
of
think you
like,
care especially about it because you are a writer, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is why I care about this story, which is why we're talking about it today. But yeah, it's getting kind of overshadowed by... I think it would be a bigger story if the cancel stuff wasn't in the
If there
media.
wasn't so much, ridiculous stuff going on at the moment.
Is there any other ridiculous stuff other than that happening?
Not really, other than those Mexican aliens that got uncovered.
Oh my
which
god.
like many people are like quite skeptical about.
Oh my god.
Which is fair enough. Like I think
The way you said Mexican aliens.
well, yeah, they are. I mean, or Central American aliens because they were discovered
the
in Peru.
Latinx aliens.
Yeah, the Latinx aliens.
You're just ticking off more racism boxes here.
The Latinx aliens were
We're
discovered
watching you.
in Peru.
We're gonna start digging into your history.
A lot of people say that they were the same alien bodies that were debunked in 2021. And that this isn't like the same version of Congress as like American Congress, so we shouldn't take it so seriously. Which like I'm not sure. I think that's pretty racist if you ask me. Like someone's made to take an oath, otherwise they go to prison. But for some reason, because it's in like Mexico, you feel like people are just gonna be like, okay, like it doesn't fucking matter. Like who gives a shit? Like I feel like
so you're saying that you think if you don't believe in this story, you're racist because
that's not what I'm saying.
You're questioning the Mexican scientists.
I'm not questioning, but what I'm saying is, if someone's under oath, the whole point of being under oath is that you go to jail.
But I don't think
if you've lied about the information that you've presented.
But that doesn't
whilst
mean
you're
that
under
people
oath.
don't lie when they're under oath, and also.
But then they'll be going to prison, then, won't they?
Well, that's not if they're like caught, which is like. You know, it depends.
It'd be pretty easy to
caught.
catch this guy out to be not telling the truth, wouldn't it?
But even then, I think that in this specific period, like anything that has a sort of, I guess, facade of like being an official thing or being leaked from some government body, it automatically kind of gets bought as like truth or whatever. And I think that you still have to have a healthy amount of skepticism. And I don't think that it makes you racist towards Mexicans.
I'm not saying it makes you racist towards Mexicans. All I'm saying is I feel like that needs to be explained to me.
Yeah,
like, the whole why the Mexican Congress shouldn't be taken seriously and why their oaths don't count for shit, even though they are saying the same thing.
Well, you've also been indulging quite a few schizo theories surrounding UFO stuff recently, like the idea that the book Three Body Problem is a soft Chinese disclosure.
Wow.
Because of how deep it goes into kind of UFO lore or whatever. You're like, oh, this is the Chinese like soft way of like doing disclosure, which is like a fascinating theory, but incredibly schizo.
That was like a semi-original thought, because I think I remember having conversations with you about how did Xi Jinlu, how he was able to publish this book. Because there is so many things in it that are exploring ideas and ideology, which if you believed everything that they tell you about China, books like that wouldn't come out of China, right? And like the kind of detail about the kind of political side of, and philosophical side of aliens. I don't think it's just the last place on earth you'd expect it to come out of.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so.
In many ways.
I don't think so at all. Like people keep saying this thing that I think has like a serious Western bias, that oh, UFO lore is purely Western. It really isn't. Like from the Dogon tribe in West Africa.
That wasn't what I was trying to get to.
But I'm just saying there's like so much UFO lore outside of like the West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I totally
massively.
agree with that. And like as you said, in Africa and in South America, and like I think a lot of the East has kind of been a big question mark. Apart from some stuff that has been able to come out of Russia, like little bits of information, but certainly not a lot. And so I feel like the whole East is a big question mark because you can't really know what they're saying is true or not, and the amount of information that you get out of the East is very little. To be completely honest.
Yeah.
So the fact that you would have, and also just the fact that I stumbled across this book, and then my immediate thought is, oh my god, this is the first Chinese writer I've ever read. Like, is there shitloads of this? Like, is there loads of books on this level of like detail, especially with the way it explores ideology and philosophy and stuff? Or is this a complete outlier? And I think that this is kind of a complete outlier, and that is why it leads me to think that maybe this, like some of the ideas within this are certainly ideas that the Chinese Communist Party or whatever want their people to, or the people to think about.
Is that how you've been reading? Is that how you've been reading it?
Definitely. That it's not. There's definitely that. Like it feels like there's this big, not paranoia, but there's certainly like the whole point of the book is like to essentially get rid of this hippie idea of aliens and to bring in a more kind of quote unquote realistic cosmic sociology is the sort of phrase that they use in the book, and that I think even one of the quotes from like when this really drastic moment in the story happens is that the universe is not a fairy tale, and that's why this happened essentially. So this devastating
it's like
thing in the book.
Cosmic pessimism.
Yeah, and just to sort of say that it's the philosophy of the dark forest essentially. So it's the idea that life is all the way out there in the universe, but actually that everybody realizes that kind of making yourself known or trying to reach out and find other people is incredibly dangerous because you don't know what's out there. And actually, if you're of any kind of stage of technology or evolution or whatever, you could be a threat eventually to that other type of civilization, and they could just obliterate you with what would seem like magic to you. It'd be like scientific, crazy shit that would just seem like complete and utter magic to you.
So the idea is that we're all having to camouflage ourselves, or at least not attract attention to ourselves in order to avoid predators like one would in a dark forest.
Or just a little bit of spoilers, I guess, because this is just coming up naturally in the conversation, but that process is both itself a deterrent and a weapon against the actual final death of humanity. Because basically this civilization called Trisolaris discovers Earth and they come in.
You don't no spoilers, no spoilers. But
yeah, the act of revealing the location of a planet or a place is so detrimental. It basically marks you for when you will be discovered, and then you will die. Like someone will find you and snuff you out. So like if you've done that, it's only a matter of time. So even if we come and settle on Earth now, it's only 200 years until something just comes and
yeah, it sounds really
point?
Sounds really scary and pessimistic and like head fucking.
Well, I don't know. It's really interesting. Well, this episode's not about the 3-body problem, so we can I'm nearly finished the 3rd book now, so we can. Maybe you should read it and then we can talk about it like properly.
We kind of touched on it with Quinn when he came on the show.
Yeah, we talked about it a bit with Quinn, but I had also not really kind of reread this some of the story, and there were some bits of it that I kept getting muddled up between animes I was watching at the time and if they were part of the actual book I was reading. And then because all the video, even to be fair, even the videos that Quinn had done about it didn't really go into any of the aspects that I was having trouble remembering if they're actually part of the book or not, which is kind of like the whole virtual reality game, the simulation of Trisolaris kind of like start of the book and stuff. I thought that was all, I was getting that confused with something else, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. But anyway, let's move into the actual topic from the episode before we go on like this huge long tangent about aliens, which is AI. And a number of authors are suing OpenAI currently, which I found pretty interesting. Do you want to explain the story?
So George R. R. Martin and loads of other big writers have all come together to essentially stand against OpenAI and have claimed that the very nature of the way that ChatGPT works essentially is stealing all of their work so that it can learn and generate new stuff if they wanted to. And so they're absolutely right. Like in a lot of ways, I think I don't know. It'd be hard to prove, I guess, if those language models are actually trained
in
upon the
novels. In George R. R. Martin's case, he's like specifically going after someone who wrote a prequel to Game of Thrones called The Wolves of Winter or something like that. And
using AI.
Yeah, using AI. And obviously now all the self-publishing places like Amazon and blah, blah, blah are trying to create software to detect work that's like generated through AI so that they can make it less prevalent, because apparently they've been having a massive flood of it, just like a complete
just one
inundation.
One note on that: the way that they're trying to combat this, AI making books thing, is that they're only limiting Amazon's self-published authors to publish 3 books a day.
Yeah. I can't. How are you publishing 3 books a day?
To me, that's insane. That already allows me to know that you know that there's a problem there, and that people are kind of publishing bullshit and publishing probably plagiarized stuff. There's zero way, zero possibility that you are. And the whole point of that program is literally so that you, as a person, like YouTube, basically, but you've got that all of that as accessed on Kindles and whatever the fuck else, is that you could write a book and literally publish it on the internet, and it could also be on Amazon store, on Kindles and all of that kind of stuff. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not meant for like copy pasting manuals or whatever the fuck. I don't know how you would even publish 3 fucking books a day, especially without AI up until this point. So the fact that they've limited it to 3 books up to this point, I don't know, man. I'm quite baffled. So I don't think that also that law is or that rule is really gonna fucking make a dent in it if it's still that prolific. Yeah, 3 books a day. They've got to be letting a lot of AI generated stuff on the hook. I would assume so. But what I'm saying is this AI stuff is maybe a year old. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's been like a big issue with people just putting random shit in fucking books or just plagiarizing stuff. I would not be surprised at all.
Big time. But then what about when it comes to something like fan fiction, like for instance?
What you mentioned was really interesting, right? Because I think the whole court case around it is that they've used George R. R. Martin's books,
fed it to this language
model so that it can generate this fans fiction of this stuff. Yeah,
prequel.
But even literally after I've said it, I've already thought about why I was wrong. Is that I don't think that they have fed like George R. R. Martin's actual text, like the actual A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't think they've fed any of that into the language models. But what they can feed into the language models is the internet and any text that's on the internet.
But I'm sure the whole text is on the internet somewhere.
Well, I don't know if the whole text is on the internet somewhere, because that would be illegal and that would be taken down.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not. Of course, no. You can get it anywhere. You can get.
I don't know. I'd be surprised.
Anywhere.
Anyway, you're sidetracking my point. My point is that wikis and enough fan information surrounding all the events within the stories of Game of Thrones and the characters of Game of Thrones and everything else exists in a way that they could make a story regardless if they didn't have the actual text of A Song of Ice and Fire anyway.
Yeah.
So in that basis alone, what is the argument? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
if there hasn't been fed the actual text and it's all it's been fed is all of this peripheral information that fans and people have collected anyway on the internet, and it's just a faster way of processing all of this and generating prompts and ideas and stuff from that. Like, what would generally be the ethical argument against it? And I love George R. R. Martin. I love Game of Thrones. Like, I'm all about keeping literary, culture alive and everything like this. I totally understand why they're very against it, but just
they've written an open letter and everything.
As a thought exercise, like, what is the ethical boundary there? I don't necessarily think there is one.
Well, I don't know. I think it all depends on quality, which is the sad thing. Like, the reason why I personally wouldn't be worried is because whatever ChatGPT is generating is usually tropey. Simply because it doesn't have a deep knowledge of the text, of the lore, of the characters in the same way that someone like George R. R. Martin does.
Of course.
It also doesn't have this like breadth of knowledge of history like George R. R. Martin does, which is why his work is so good, because of his historical knowledge and the fact
it doesn't have a deep understanding.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have an understanding of history.
It does have all of that information.
Yeah, it's pulling from tropes. Like it's like a Family Guy sketch, basically, like a really kind of like tropey, deformed version of like the actual subject. So therefore, if I was George R. R. Martin, I wouldn't be that worried, because it's not like whatever the language model that your fan is trying to create a prequel of your like cool fantasy novel is gonna be anything that ever competes with what your brain is generating.
I think that using the way that using George R. R. Martinisms as your kind of main as your template essentially for this AI tool.
Yeah.
To be like, give me a fantasy world that's based on Southern America instead of Europe, and also include, historical
like
events that could have been based anywhere in the world, but weave them within to the kind of fantasy world that's based within South America.
Reducing his style to prompts, basically, which is what you're saying.
Yeah, but not just then taking that final output and being like, hey, there we go. And maybe AI will get there eventually, but I still think the kind of the tool use of AI, instead of just the whole use as a means to an end, but the tool use of AI is to put in those parameters and get it to generate a few things, and then see which ones you like, see what thing, and then what ideas that sparks in within you, and you kind of then culminate stuff like. The way I've been using Midjourney and Kyber and tools like that for just shitty videos, for like visualizers and stuff for my music and stuff like that, like it's stuff that I wouldn't be able to pay a fucking graphic artist for anyway. And at the same time, it does a fucking good enough result for it, for what it needs to do. Do you know what I mean? But still, even with Midjourney, I can't like type in exactly what I want and get exactly what I want back from it. I have to kind of take some of the things that it generates, bring it into Photoshop, manipulate it a bit, edit out some bits, do some other stuff, layer in actual text and stuff that I want, because it's terrible with fucking text and other things like that. So there's like an amount of, it's like the use of AI as a tool. I feel like that's the symbiosis that's going to be really good. That's like the AR versus VR. Do you know what I mean? That's like not fully like down the rabbit hole, but it's actually still utilizing all of these great technologies that we've developed.
But even then, I kind of understand George R. R. Martin's annoyance, because it is kind of annoying to be reduced to a trope, and I guess kind of making someone's style into a prompt that's being programmed to generate things that are being used for commercial ends. That's kind of what corporations do anyway. but then having it sort of like broken down. I mean, you could say George R. R. Martin's a hypocrite because that's exactly what HBO does to him, and like Funko Pop when they make pop dolls of his characters, and like, you know.
Well, not just that, but I would say,
Why can't some nerd like fucking AI generate like a fucking scene from his show, his books, or you know, make a fan fiction of like a prequel or something, you know?
well, I would I would say that what you said, like, oh, it's so bad to just break him down into these categories. And it's not that. It's actually every probably critical human brain does that with anything that they enjoy. Like, oh, I had that chicken sandwich. Fuck, that was delicious. Why was this chicken sandwich so fucking delicious? The bread was this special kind of bread that was kind of crusty and do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah,
instantly like picking apart the things that make something great to you, or what you think might be the spark of that makes that thing great. And so that just then creates something that you could feed back into a machine with lots of information that can spit you back ideas. Instead of you scouring YouTube, or not YouTube, but like Google or whatever, for all of those like historical events and things that you might want to fucking weave within your story, that's now a prompt. And it's going to scan the entire history that it can find on fucking Google,
but it
and then
wouldn't be
give
able-
you a load
it's-
of options.
Yeah, but it's
So I think, and then you can narrow that down even within whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So like, I think that like using it as a tool, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's just this idea that you could just sort of, it'll make making stuff completely useless if it gets to the just end point of it, where you just like you said, I think the other day, of like, oh, just like type in Philip K. Dick's Radio Free Albemuth in the style of you know, the Coen brothers, and then that will be like your Uflix, and it will fucking stream it will make the movie exactly of the thing that you were looking for, with a cast even you've typed in and whatever the fuck, like that fucking Netflix episode and shit. Like that is the ultimate end point of this AI stuff, is that it needs
custom reality
it needs
sort of thing.
zero production. It needs a really complex, amazing computer to take in all sorts of data and media and images of people, to simulate stuff and simulate 3D environments and all sorts of crazy stuff, and then weave that all in together and fucking generate whole feature films
yeah,
that are specific to you.
to your
And
taste.
it will completely, and this is kind of why I made the title of the episode as like tragic as I did, because it will be the end of media as you know it. And that won't just stop. That doesn't just stop with movies. That could be literally almost anything that is visual media based. You know, apart from maybe, I don't know, maybe it would even get there with games. People are fucking constantly moaning about games.
Yeah, video game culture sucks. Everyone
And about,
just complains.
oh, microtransactions and this fucking Blizzard did this and
I
fucking
wonder if
Bethesda
gamers
did that.
actually even enjoy playing games sometimes, because all they seem to do is complain about them,
You know?
endlessly. And
But then they could fucking just actually be, oh, give me Diablo 4, but it's, you know, give me Diablo 5 basically, but it's actually with all of these kinds of mechanics and all of these bits are fixed, and fuck the store and all of this other stuff. And bang, there we go. Game for me. And then I've made my own sequel of a game.
Well, writers are obviously pissed. Maybe soon game devs are gonna start like shaking in their boots.
I think it's interesting, because I think even just like, you know, from a whole, even like a very like boring, normal, regular boomatics politics kind of angle, like the UK economy has transitioned itself into this sort of like what they call a service-based economy, which basically means we specialize in stuff like financial services and law, and do you know what I mean? Things like that. And those are the fucking first things that will go with AI. The first things. Why on earth would you pay a fucking lawyer when you can literally get an AI that has already passed the bar and done all sorts of other shit?
Yeah. Just
You know?
even just like having those sorts of things be more and more impersonal. Like, think about how much more impersonal banking has gotten.
Yeah. Even doctors, dude.
Yeah, even doctors. Yeah,
to a
which is
point,
quite scary.
which is like, I think even like there's a level of robotics that's required to fully replace doctors. But even I think the level of like the NHS that we have in the UK, where it's kind of transformed in the last few years to like, especially if you're in London anyway, like this has been my experience, that you've been kind of encouraged you sign up to the Babylon app. So you can kind of do actually most of your first initial doctor's meetings on a phone with a video call or whatever. I think they kind of pushed that through COVID and stuff. But then, you know, okay, well that you're literally just showing a video of you if you've got any fucking symptoms and whatever else. Like 100% that you could fucking AI that.
But even then, that's the thing.
So that then saves so much doctor time to actually inpatient stuff. There's like loads of benefits to it.
Of course, but even then, think about how impersonal things have gone. Like the other day, you made an appointment at the bank, and then the bank teller was like, "You do know that you could have like done this online." And because we're like baby adults, we were thinking in our heads of like what our parents did when they had to make big decisions about things, which was like make an appointment, put on your Sunday best, and like we go there looking like utter idiots. And like when you don't have to do that anymore, everything's so impersonal now, including like things like healthcare as well, which and in England, like the NHS have always been known for like their bedside manner and their sort of really personal duty of care. So it's like very strange now that things are behind screens.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess with both banking and I don't know. That was kind of me being a bit old school. I guess. Your country's medical app is called Babylon for reals.
Yeah, it is called Babylon.
Yeah,
they're just nakedly, you know, just out there, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I know.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've also seen like a lot of like stupid adverts in London recently for like legal weed.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's not happening in the UK. We're too square.
No, because they oh yeah, check out our website. It's all like, you know, it all looks swish. It all looks very trendy. And then you go on their website.
And it's like CBD.
And it's CBD buds with zero THC in it. And you're just like, we
live in such a square society.
You made it look like you were cool. You made it look like you were cool. With your aesthetic and like everything that was going on.
Jake got fooled.
And then you're capitalism. There, like, and you're doing the anti-cool. You're selling fucking like glowy buds. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
like,
it's upsetting.
But,
it's very upsetting.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, this is one thing. Like like you know, as a British economy is like pretty fucked.
Yeah,
and, like,
when it comes to AI,
bad.
Yeah.
But then but no, I was saying just in general, it's like pretty fucked.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
bad.
Yeah.
But then like as the trajectory of like all of this AI stuff like meets a point, it's definitely gonna like fucking change the game. And I think the other side pillar to this AI stuff, which I think is not a lot of people are kind of catching on to.
Yeah.
Is this other fucking technology that's kind of coming and has been building up all the way on the side this entire time? Quantum computing.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're making all sorts of crazy fucking bounds and shit in that at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, oh my god, dude, are you going to get to a point where you've got literally what, for all intents and purposes, would be like nearly a mimicked like consciousness powered by a quantum computer?
Yeah.
Like, that's some fucking Isaac Asimov shit right there.
Yeah.
That's some Isaac Asimov shit right there.
Yeah.
It's
what did he say? Someone in the chat said, Babylon, that is totally weird. Like those children jumping on the beds at the London Olympics NHS ritual.
I didn't watch that.
We've attracted too many schizos. That's what happens.
I didn't even watch that.
Schizo be gone. I don't remember the London Olympics. I think I was living in America during the time.
I remember Russell Brand rode a bus.
He was in it. Maybe it was an Illuminati ritual. And what's going on right now is his Illuminati shaming ritual, his humiliation ritual.
Oh dear. I mean, it's all blackmail, isn't it? I'm surprised, like, you know, that something like this hasn't really like happened sooner, if I'm completely honest. But they were just sort of waiting for the right moment, I guess. And I don't know what makes now, especially the right moment. I feel like now he has the least credibility he's ever had.
But I think it's because the American election is coming up, and we also have like our own deep state in the UK, and like America can't do like the bad naughty thing without getting in trouble for First Amendment shit. But we don't have a First Amendment here.
Not like a First Amendment, but we have like, we have
not really like that. Like no. we don't have that shit like encased and enshrined. And if they wanted to fuck with you, they could. Well, like the thing that shocked me the most in civil law stuff here was that girl who like ran away to join ISIS. She's a British citizen. She was born here.
Well, not anymore. She's not.
Well, yeah, that precisely that they took away her citizenship, and that's not really legal. Like, you can't make someone stateless, and even if they commit grievous crimes against,
who's it illegal against?
Like, I don't know.
Who's gonna come?
Well, that's what I was saying. If they can take away someone's citizenship,
no one came, did they? Though no one came.
If they can take away someone's citizenship, they can violate your freedom of speech.
But like, what authorities?
They can do whatever they want.
What authorities tried to stop it?
Well, is there supposed to be sort of like international law and like human rights
and what did they do?
What do you mean?
Who enforces these things?
Well, I think the UN is supposed to like enforce that sort of thing when there are human rights abuses and blah, blah, blah.
And what do they do?
I don't know.
Nothing. Zero things. They did nothing. They did absolutely sweet FA.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they can take away someone's citizenship who's like a born citizen of the country,
because they're just like nice ideas. Do you know what I mean?
Then they can like
things like human rights, all of this stuff. They're just like nice ideas that some people like will choose to believe in and not believe in at certain situations and times.
Yeah.
And that's like the genuine reality of the situation. That's why they put Guantanamo Bay like in a fucking island that's like kind of not quite like in all the places where you can then just get away with torture and all sorts of crazy shit. Do you know what I mean?
I hate that it's like caught up in like, fucking dissident media versus establishment media and like this whole like crazy thing when it's really just about this like guy and like these women who are saying these things, and they should probably go and sort that shit out in like court. It's like really weird that like it's become this existential battle between the forces.
I want it to be like the Johnny Depp trial where Russell says like, yes, I did do that, but that was after you had pooed in the bed.
Oh my god.
Like we all need another good celebrity shit bed story. Do you know
that was crazy. That was insane. That was really, really crazy. And I didn't know. Things seem to be devolving in that sense. And like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sad that like all the good writers and artists are like pissed off and feeling precarious as well. As much as people have been making fun of the writer strike stuff, and a lot of it does deserve to be made fun of, I am quite sad to see like sort of the collapse of like, certain aspects of the media where creative things used to happen.
I don't know. It's that thing, isn't it? Of like, if you value books, like start reading them. Like we read a lot of books, so I don't feel like bad saying that sort of stuff, because I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of books, so like I support all of those types of industries and creators and whatever in a very direct way. But like if it wasn't a problem, like that's why it's suffered in the way that it has, right? It's because people aren't, because everyone's attention is divided and we're fucking sucked into the fucking content hole with I hate to say it, but like things like podcasts and like
except this one.
This is the cool one.
This is the great one.
That you're like double based if you listen to.
Amazingly based. Marcus Aurelius would listen to this podcast.
Would he now?
Yeah, we tell you to carpe diem here.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe not podcasts, but like social media.
Yeah.
Podcasts can be edifying and they can kind of like generate like interesting ideas within someone and further your interests and all that kind of thing. So maybe not podcast and being a bit too cynical there. But yeah, it's like social media and stuff. It's a fucking trap. The attention trap. Like even if it's like not necessarily you scrolling through stuff, it could have caught you in a different way, and you're like trying to shit post all the time and fucking get whatever fucking clout within some niche fucking internet communities. You know what I mean? Like it can get people in the brainworm fucking loop in many ways. And so all of those things distract and take away from people genuinely engaging with stuff. And that includes music, that includes movies, that includes all sorts of things, which is why, you know, I think even like one of the AI sort of aspects of the writer's strike and the actor's strike, because it's kind of a two-pronged thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that they're worried that they're going to be called in for a day's work and then never essentially be needed again.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know?
Pretty much.
And that...
especially people who are low on the rung in the industry, like extras and stuff.
Yeah. And
they're literally trying to create NPCs. They're like, you'd make a good NPC.
I mean,
give us your soul, NPC.
I mean, but when it comes down to it, the reason why they don't really want to get into the numbers with residuals and what counts as a play and all of that stuff is because it will actually kind of openly reveal what the numbers are and what the numbers mean, more importantly, on things like Netflix and whatever else.
Stuff.
So it will kind of blow the lid open to investors for these companies which have actually never made profits. Disney Plus never made profit. Netflix even, I think, has never made a fucking profit. So this is like, I think it's going to then make people to go, okay, this is crazy. You were pumping these numbers and making it look like you were doing a good job, but actually, fuck, this is completely fucked. And so like, it's kind of a big reason why they're trying to starve them out, essentially, and not come to the table and not go through with a deal. I wish that there was some kind of legal way that they could force that situation. Because I would be super interested in that. Like there was it comes back to the kind of points that I was talking about a couple of episodes ago around even things that like we hold dear to our hearts and consider kind of infrastructure of the internet. Things like YouTube aren't necessarily actually very profitable.
No.
If YouTube was profitable, Google would be fucking screaming at them, telling you how fucking profitable it is. Like, I think YouTube is not, which is why it has to keep doing all of these terrible changes and trying to appeal to advertisers in different ways and fucking increase the amount of ads that they play.
Look at what's happened to Twitter. Look what's happened to fucking
None
Twitter.
of these things are actually profitable. And the internet was never really set up to cater to old forms of needing to make a fucking profit. It was like a really open, free access kind of thing.
Yep.
So if you needed to pay your fucking $20 a month for your cable to come in and actually have access to the internet. But then once you had access to the internet, that was a whole fucking all sorts of crazy shit that you could get into relatively for free, unless it was kind of, membership, some kind of like weird websites or not even weird websites, but like specialist websites or whatever.
Yeah.
But to actually host like a video thing and have recurring amount of people that would pay a certain amount of money to support you funding making your own TV shows and own feature-length films, like I don't think people also kind of contextualize how fucking ambitious that is. Like, this is the internet. Like, the same thing that you're watching YouTube on and would pay YouTube £8 a month for to not get ads on YouTube, you would pay Netflix £8 a month to fucking get adverts and watch feature-length films that they've made with Hollywood stars. Come on, dude. The numbers just don't fucking add up. They don't add up at all. And the same thing is with fucking music. The same thing is with all of the different things and media and culture that has come from the 20th century, maybe apart from video games, but even questionably, depending where cloud gaming and all these other kind of tangential technologies that I'm not going to go on about could also fucking change, but has made them unprofitable. Things like fucking watching movies is now streaming, is now fucking cheap, is changed the industry, has made things really question how much risk that they can take on something because they need to make a fucking profit on everything. So there's less ambitious and weird things being made now. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
It affects all of these different things.
Massively.
So
Jay George says, I want to start buying Blu-rays and vinyls, but they're really expensive where I live. Damn. Yeah, you're in Brazil, aren't you? Is it like really expensive to get that stuff? It's kind of expensive everywhere, I think.
Yeah. I mean, physical media isn't cheap.
It's not cheap.
Unless it's shit. Unless it's stuff that people don't want.
Yeah.
It is not cheap, if I'm completely honest. Even Sopranos, like Blu-ray or whatever, will still go for good money because it's a show that people will be interested in buying forever. Yeah. So, or Breaking Bad or something,
as an investment, I guess, and just kind of like do what you can when you can, because I think it's good to invest in physical media and like
and
get
I don't
as
know,
much as you can.
It's that thing where I used to invest in physical media and or at least like a digital version of that, like a hard drive with loads of torrented films and all sorts of stuff as a backup for when my internet went down, because my internet would go down pretty frequently. Like I grew up during a time where internet wasn't amazing.
And you lived in the countryside as well.
Yeah, and so I have all of this stuff like saved up for when the internet went down, so that when it did, it'd be like, oh fuck, well it doesn't matter, I can't play WoW, it doesn't matter, I can just like fucking watch, Taxi Driver or whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. But having a physical media thing, that's kind of in the same principle. And
Jay George says, I don't even think Spotify is profitable. I don't think any of them are.
No, Spotify is not profitable.
And music artists complain about that all the time, like the sort of predatory music model.
And this is the interesting thing with the music streaming stuff, and even the TV streaming stuff, arguably, is that the only companies that have skin in the game where they don't actually, and that can be very successful at these and could stay around for a very long time, are like cyberpunk companies that will be one of the 5 companies that we're left all fucking consuming from in the rest of the 21st century. Like it is going to be an Apple or an Amazon or some other kind of business where their main profit and their main income is not related to the services that are tangentially associated to that other thing that they're making their money from. So Apple, for example, obviously make shit tons of money just selling hardware. That's most of where they make their money, is selling hardware, selling computers, selling headphones, selling phones, all of that shit. Watches even. The amount of shit that that fucking company sells is insane. But that then literally puts them in a position where if they wanted to challenge Netflix and make their own streaming service, that literally probably, it does not matter if that makes a profit or not, because they, as a company, are making so much fucking money already in a different avenue. Amazon, same thing. They're making so much fucking money on the whole, like, shopping monopoly racket on the internet, in the Western internet anyway, that they don't need to fucking worry about if they make money on Amazon Prime. Can they afford to fucking fund 5 seasons of Rings of Power and still still be around? That's a fucking different question.
That was a total failure. And they put so much money into it. Oh my gosh.
So how much
the
money?
amount of money that went into fucking Rings of Power is like absurd. And I wanted it to be good really badly.
I wanted to love it. I love Lord of the Rings.
I did. I wanted it to be good really badly. I was ready to get on board with the popcorn. And the fact that didn't bankrupt them is insane.
So for the season 1, when you, at least this is the number when you type it in and it comes up on YouTube, on Google, is $465 million for 1 season of television, which I believe was 10 episodes long.
Wow. Wow.
Which, that is a lot of money.
That's wild.
That's $500 million.
That's crazy.
On 1 season of television.
Wow.
And they're going to do 5 of them. So they've got 4 more to go. So they've got $2 billion left to spend on Lord of the Rings. And that's
Wow.
providing that all of the cost and the budgets are basically the same from season 1, which if you look at Game of Thrones or something else that was kind of in the similar ballpark of fantasy world and leading to a big arc going up means probably bigger and bigger battles, bigger and bigger things, bigger and bigger cost. That's just the nature of it, right? And so you're already at $500 million on season 1. Season 2, like season 5 even, that's probably going to be a fucking $1 billion for the season.
Yeah, dude.
Like, if you're going to follow that kind of scale.
Yeah, dude. That's insane, dude.
That's crazy.
That's wank. That's insane.
So, yeah, I don't know if... I think maybe Amazon's making some missed calls.
I mean...
And they might not be around forever. They might burn out. They might burn out.
It's going to be really interesting when these streaming platforms eventually crash and fucking burn.
But Apple hasn't done anything crazy like that. I don't think they've spent any crazy money like that. Or at least there's definitely not been any articles about them spending crazy money on any particular show. Even stuff like Foundation and stuff like that was very sci-fi.
It was quite conservative.
CG heavy,
yeah,
but it was
still quite conservative. It wasn't like fucking Game of Thrones budget every episode type.
No, but it still looked amazing.
Yeah,
and it was, top actors.
Yeah.
And it was very CG heavy.
Yeah,
so they didn't. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
But it didn't look cheap anyway. But it certainly wasn't half a fucking $1 billion.
To round out, which company do you think will be in the West, like Samsung is in like South Korea, where it's like
Apple
the feudal overlord?
Apple, Microsoft. I feel like Meta still have a chance
to become the feudal overlord.
Meta still have a chance, and that is also going to be hinged upon.
Do you think that's why Mark Zuckerberg looks so ambitious and like fucking
It's going to be
crazy?
hinged upon the success of VR as an interface, as a way that we as we experience the digital world, like how that changes and what that changes into. I think is going to very much make or break whether Meta is going to be a thing or not, or it really does become the kind of Tencent WeChat type thing of the West, and it really cements that, and then it actually doesn't really matter what the next interface becomes, they're already cemented.
Someone said Raytheon, Disney, OnlyFans, Monsanto.
Wow. I mean, that is a really special hell that you've just painted.
Yeah, real cynical dude.
That's a really special hell that you've painted. And
you're such a doomer. You're an even worse doomer than us.
Oh my god, a world where Microsoft and Apple forge into one mega fucking company, dude. That is such a terrifying idea.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. But yeah, I think like of like the 5 companies.
Why can't we have Nook Corp? That's what I want.
Nook Corp.
Yeah.
Well,
just like
I don't know.
Have a cute bear.
I saw a guy talking about, apparently Elon Musk was talking about like building fucking $10,000 renewable pod homes for people and stuff. So he that kind of extends. I kind of think.
Are you saying that he's actually Tom Nook in disguise?
Yeah.
That's why he keeps growing wider and wider.
Yeah, and boxier.
And boxier. He's just gonna unzip his skin suit one day.
Graham M, our Web3 bros gonna fix the internet economy. The internet economy. That's an interesting phrase. How is that different from the regular economy? I would describe like the internet economy being like just how people do commerce on the internet, because that I still feel like is very much largely still done in regular monies, and I think that's kind of the point as well around a lot of the Web3 stuff, is that it all kind of got exposed as to, what can this do that other things can't do? What is the revolutionary thing about this? Like that there's this digital receipt, like i.e. the blockchain that can validate stuff. Okay, but like what is the actual functionality of any of it? Like what can you do with Bitcoin that you can't do with anything else? And I don't think almost anybody has actually kind of been able to cement a way of validating any kind of utility around stuff like that. One use case that I did find or hear about through the craze of NFTs and Web3 and all of this kind of stuff. Hang on 2 seconds. Was the idea that like digital tickets, for example, could be coded into them, that the resale value of them, 10% of it goes to the artist's wallet directly. So if someone's bought a ticket for Taylor Swift for 50 quid and then they scalp it for 500 quid, Taylor Swift, maybe a bad example, Taylor Swift is still then going to make a cool fucking, 10% on that transaction from them transitioning it. So like, it all benefits the artist. It's all ways of like feeding back to the artist. You know what I mean? And like stuff like that like seems to make sense. That's something that seems to be pretty unique and a way of validating purchases and things like that in a digital realm that you would need. So like, I can understand things like that, but I think also a lot of other ideas around Web3 seem to be kind of also formed that your entire life would essentially be very, very digital. And I think it's too much of a separation from the real world for you to live in a healthy
those are the
way.
sorts of people that like want Web3 and like dig it and are super obsessed with it, like goblins who live online. That's kind of what I've noticed about it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
they want that to be sort of validated by there being some sort of legitimate vocation that they can kind of spend their time on. Besides being an influencer and blah, 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 blah.
It was just another
like,
new frontier. It was just another new frontier. So with any kind of new frontier, you're going to have chances and fucking scam artists and crazy fucking people coming in and making absolutely ridiculous money and doing a lot of wrongdoing and doing some cowboy behavior, like any other kind of frontier.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested in which company is going to come out on top, or whether it's going to be like a couple of them, like a couple of like mega.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's even like really terrifying ideas, right? Of company talking of mega corporations and crazy sci-fi futures of terrifying things we can imagine, like Raytheon, Disney, OnlyFans, Monsanto group. Is that like the company? I would even say, to use Apple as another example again, Apple sell movies on the iTunes store. So Apple have a repository technically of almost whatever, any movie, almost every movie you would ever buy digitally.
Yeah.
And so with that, what could they do in the realm of AI? Like, that's really unique. Do you know what I mean? So the position that some people are in terms of a report, and then it comes into, what kind of rights do they have? Are they just a distributor? Do they then actually have ability to, scan that stuff or whatever, take data from it, or, for AI, that was never written in the original contract for stuff. So could you still use it now? Like, there's all sorts of things around it.
One of the many celebrities that was cancelled recently got their entire, like, I think it was either their Apple or Amazon library revoked. And it's like, you can't just like take things that people own from them.
Well, you don't own any of those digital things.
But even then, if someone buys a fucking video game, you can't take it off of them because they're racist or whatever. Like, it's just not how things work. You
have been granted a license to access that digital product.
So if you your social rating ESG score drops below a certain point, they can take away your movies and your music.
Yeah, apparently so. But that's like worth bearing in mind in this cyberpunk fucking reality that we live in. Like,
in the cyberpunk dystopia. That's why I want to know which company is going to come out on top. Like, because I want to be able to predict the aesthetic and the ethos.
Anything like digital music you buy on a library. Games you buy on a library like Steam or GOG or Epic or anything like that. Other kind of digital goods you would buy. I don't know, anything like that you can think of that would be a wholly digital good that exists within a digital realm. You have an access to a license to access that stuff. You do not have that stuff. You do not own that stuff. And this is kind of like what some people have said is like the beginning of this "you own nothing and be happy" thing. It's actually like there was a meme going around of like this guy with his old school video game library, you know, like one of those dudes with a shelves that's just cartridges and fucking walls everywhere behind him. And then like a guy that's just like a goblin, obviously, like behind his double monitored PC glowing with like his Steam library. One of them owns all of those games and one of them doesn't. One of them has the most specced out fucking machine ever, but actually all of the access to those games are totally tangential onto whether Steam verifying keys and all of this other kind of stuff actually works. If Steam servers went down for whatever reason, you would never have access to your whole games library again.
But not even just that. Like, I think the subscription model is going to encroach into more than just like games and these silly online experiences.
It's gone into cars.
Wow, like you can subscribe to a car.
Yeah.
Can you? When are you going to be able to subscribe to an apartment?
Not only just subscribing to cars, but it's gotten more pernicious than that, where it's obviously cheaper to build one car instead of lots of different cars that have different feature sets and all of this kind of thing. So they build one car with all of the features in it, and actually your subscription to BMW or whatever determines whether you have the heated seats work or not.
Wow.
The heated seats are in your car the entire fucking time.
But they
won't work until you've subscribed
harder
for them to work in your fucking
subscribe
car.
Harder, bitch.
Do you know what I mean?
We are pay piggy forever.
And so
that's the cyberpunk future we're in. And I think Elon Musk is giving us a taste of it with Twitter. Well, because I think people were already addicted to Twitter and like they were having fun getting their Garmin Boza on there for free. But then Elon Musk was like, welcome to the cyberpunk future, bitch. I've got you by your libidinal drive and I'm going to charge you for every little increment of it. And they were already hooked anyway. So it was like kind of genius. But even then, like having a thing that you don't own and then being charged for every little feature, like some kind of weird video game sim dystopia.
Yeah, it's microtransactions for life. Do you know
Scary,
what I mean?
Dude. And even then, think about how fast the subscription model escalated online, like with content. Like how many fucking subscriptions you have. Like we've got Audible, we've got fucking...
Well, so this is where it all actually, I think, kind of broke down, in my opinion.
Yeah, what?
Because I think if the streaming model had stayed where it's just, in a lot of ways, where it's just Netflix, like it's just YouTube. There's Rumble, lol. And there is like, you know, Vimeo, if you're an indie filmmaker or whatever the fuck, but like YouTube is really, there is like undisputed, there is no real competitor.
TikTok is really kind of
It's a different thing.
It's dethroned,
It's a different thing.
But it's
different
still kind
format.
of dethroned YouTube in a
No,
way.
different thing, different format. So like, not gonna say it's overtaking. Like to watch YouTube videos on the internet, YouTube is the place. If you made a video and you wanted people to watch it, you would put it on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt about it. So, like, there's not like I'm trying to fucking remember my point now. You kind of threw me off my point.
You were going on about YouTube being the
when Netflix, when Netflix was the only streaming service, so they'd licensed Disney, they had licensed all this other stuff, they'd licensed Paramount, and everybody was going to Netflix, and you would go to one place. It made sense. You paid one subscription fee. It made sense. And probably to Netflix, with all of those customers and all of those people all funneled into one avenue of places to do something and make money, it probably actually, even financially, maybe started to look like it made sense.
Yeah.
But then when all of these companies started pulling all of their content away and going, no, see, I can build my own streaming service, see?
Yeah.
All of the customer base is completely divided up.
Yeah.
No one can afford a subscription to every fucking one.
Yeah.
So people choose their best shows. They dip in and out of this one. They go to this one for a bit. They go to this one for a bit. So everybody's fucking divided between one way or another.
Yeah.
If it was all consolidated just into one thing, there's like a sliver of a fucking Jiminy Cricket of a chance that it might make a bit of money. But if you fucking divvy it all up into all of these different fucking things, there's zero way that any of them are going to make any money.
Yeah.
And I think they're all slowly starting to realize this.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It's that, and like, it's this idea that, like, again, we can't have anything nice on the internet because we are bound by, like, archaic, monkey-brained fucking ideas of advertising and all of these fucking things that were like models of the 20th century for old media. We haven't figured out a way to just kind of utilize the freedom, the total unabashed freedom of the internet, and even then potentially technologies of things like AI. We're not going to know what the fuck to do with that kind of freedom because it's all bound up in IP, fucking law, and all of this other stuff. And do you know what I mean? We literally can't handle that level of freedom because it would destroy our fucking
economic models.
Economic models and all sorts of stuff. There's so many things that it's just like are completely fucking against that aren't going to make it work, and it's gonna kind of make it suck in a lot of ways. I would love to kind of see like a totally like, you know, Y2K future envisioned where like the internet is like this totally free, like awesome place, and it isn't this corporate fucking hellscape and stuff. But then, as I said, with the idea of Netflix it being the one website everybody went to go and stream at, there is a certain value to there being single websites where everybody actually kind of goes to.
Yeah, exactly.
So as much
I kind of
like
miss that curation, like, you know, and I feel like that's the kind of future, because I think people are so sick of the fragmentation and they want to go somewhere where they can find the things that they like. And I think people who are good curators are going to be people who kind of own the future in that sense. If you're able to sort of curate the vibe, quote unquote, or you understand a sort of vibe and you're able to put things that represent that in a place where people who want that can get it, then you're going to be loved, because it's everything's so fragmented currently.
I want to find a way to bring those aesthetics and things into the real world. Do you know what I mean? And this is kind of like ending tangent for the episode. This is all like weird internet tech kind of related stuff, I guess, and we're talking about aesthetics and stuff, but like I feel like vaporwave was such a huge aesthetic internet specific thing that happened that never, like, when if you asked your parents about it, they would have no fucking idea, because it never translated out of the internet into a real world space.
Yeah, but it was
like,
meant to stay there.
Kind of.
You want a hyperstition, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And what I like is
Jake
that
saying,
now
bring the hyperstitions. I think it's kind of happening already.
What I like is that now the ambient jungle is the new vaporwave, and that it's becoming like the new YouTube genre. Everybody's listening to ambient jungle. It's fucking going crazy, and that has I feel like real potential to manifest in a real world space in a way that vaporwave didn't, because of the nature of the music, if you know what I mean.
It wasn't really dance music.
Like, vaporwave, is so downbeat that it would be hard to assemble a bunch of people together without everybody kind of awkwardly just like bobbing their heads, you know what I mean? Whereas jungle, it kind of gives everybody that freedom to just kind of let loose and go kind of crazy and like whatever, just like dance or be on pills or whatever the fuck you're doing.
I do like the ambient jungle trend. I'm actually really digging it.
And then all of the aesthetic that comes with that, all of the early video game aesthetic and all of the stuff that comes with that, that's so rife to like kind of like do some really crazy fucking shit visually with like, you know, stuff and, you know. So yeah, I can see that there being an actual tangible manifestation of that could be really interesting.
So you're saying hyperstition equals the wave of the future. You're basically saying bring the schizo into the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why
And
not?
that can be a cultural kind of salve in a way, I guess.
It's just somewhere to hang out.
Yeah, I think
And,
it's
like-
important to bring people together and like to curate things in a fragmented world and in a fragmented cultural landscape to kind of get a wave of like things that are similar to each other and like things that you find valuable. Be your own algorithm.
Yeah. Richard Salazar. Oh my fucking god! I'm catching a live stream. Your name is incredible. Has anyone ever told you that?
That's great. That's
You
awesome.
have a powerful name, sir.
A strong name.
I love those PS1 Jungle D&B compilations. Yeah, there you go,
Yeah,
bro.
they're
See,
great.
I'm gonna have one coming out. I was gonna have a whole bunch of work done, and I have like half an EP done of my own ambient jungle thing that I'm gonna release. And yeah, I'm talking about that because that's basically what I want to do. I want to put on a night like that in London somewhere, and just make it like a fucking underwater tropical Donkey Kong jungle,
Yeah.
full of fucking ambient jungle vibes.
I'm seeing it right now.
Where everyone's
I'm gonna
drinking
art direct this.
fucking radioactive colored cocktails.
I
And
can see it right now. I'm gonna go to Cyberdog.
You
I'm
know.
gonna get an outfit. It's gonna be so fucking cool.
that's what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you're just bringing everyone together. And like, if someone just walked into that, even if you had no idea what the fuck was going on, it's such a collected and, as you say, curated thing that you would be like, whoa, what the fuck? This is a whole thing that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Like, so it's sort of, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it's like that. So that's what I want to do. I would love to do that. If you know anybody that can like help me do that in any capacity, fucking hit me
Jay
up.
George says that'd be so sick.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you could come from Brazil.
I'll do it in Brazil, bro. Get me some contacts. We'll come and do it in Brazil.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I've always wanted to go to Brazil. I'm obsessed with Brazilian music. I've been torturing with Jake with it for the last like 3 years.
There was, to be fair though, there was a new trend in Brazilian music that does alarm me.
What?
There's this like little Zoomer girl I watch on YouTube who does like music video TikTok things. And she was talking about this weird music that's come out of Brazil, which just sounds like weird samples completely manipulated to sound like distorted as fuck, followed by like people kind of like half singing, half rapping, but with like terrible auto tune on it.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just the most bizarre fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. And like I couldn't believe that it was a real genre of music. I thought it was like weird.
You have to show me what it sounds like.
I thought it was like weird clips that.
Does it sound like culty?
I thought it was like weird clips of.
Wait, don't play it because I don't want to get copyright.
We won't get copyright claimed. Don't worry, because I won't play enough of it to get copyright claimed. But like, fuck it, it was like weird. Oh, it's not that, is it? It was just called something else. I'm pretty sure it was called that. Oh no. No, I can't find it.
No, don't worry about it.
But yeah,
It's fine.
it was just like it was the sort of thing that you would hear and be like, oh my god, is that the punchline of a TikTok video? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that like it's like that's a joke almost. Like that's the punchline is that sound. But then it was actually like super popular and loads of people in Brazil fucking love it. I was just like, dude, I don't understand culture anymore. It's basically a Rio. Well, it's called something funk, isn't it? There we go. It was basically it's Rio 150 BPM funk, but taken to extremes. I mean, even the way that you describe it there, I don't like. Yeah, funk kind of maybe. I don't know. Like the sounds in it are just so bizarre and fucked up to me that it just like doesn't sound like anything. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I've never.
I think a lot of the. I don't know. It's like
need to hear it.
It's like a lot of the artistry of making a record, and I think like even your idea around like curation and stuff is gone. Like there's not people really doing a lot of that anymore. Like you're not even you wouldn't get like a Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get an Arja, Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Because like that's just not the way people fucking produce records anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that, and the kind of idea of like this weird, crazy fucking Brazilian like genre that sounds like crazy, weird internet noises. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that put through like some cheap, fucking shitty Logic plugin or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the sound, and even like fucking stuff like hyperpop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sonic aesthetic of that music.
We just lost our whole Zoomer audience.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting way too fucking in the weeds with this in the audio realm probably for people right now. I'm wearing a fucking Neumann hat. Of course you're going to expect me to spurg out about shit like this. But like, yeah, the sonic aesthetic of hyperpop is indicative of the production methods used to create it, right? It sounds sharp and digital and harsh and cheap because that was exactly what was fucking used to make it. Like shitty fucking microphones, a shitty fucking laptop, like all of that kind of shit. Arja, what does it sound like? It sounds like you're in a fucking jazz club, dude. It sounds like you're in a jazz club that's got history and you're drinking a fucking like 100-year-old fucking scotch. Like everything around you just completely like to the nails, fucking like perfect. That's Steely Dan.
Like you're being fed steak.
Yeah, dude, literally. Like you're being fed steak and getting your dick sucked at the same time. That is what listening to Steely Dan sounds like. Whereas like listening to fucking 1,000 Gex or whatever they're fucking called sounds like dragging your nutsack across a fucking sandpaper glued on with glass. It's just like, you know what I mean?
Oh my god. No, I don't know. I think that the hyperpop thing is like indicative of civilizational collapse.
What you think? What is indicative of civilization?
Hyperpop.
Hyperpop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people just say we're boomers and we don't get it.
I don't care. I'm fine with it. It's okay. It's fine with me. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the curation thing is like missing and it's super important. And I feel like people are desperate for it as well. That doesn't mean that I think that like there should be these cultural elites that decide everything. No. I mean, I liked it before when
people with taste are given a chance.
People
basically.
with taste are given a chance. Like people,
And
there's a debate going on about the guy. What's the name of the white guy? Rick Owens or some shit. The guy who like produced all the hip hop records and like he's just like a white guy and he's like got a scraggly beard and like he's a little bit bald.
Sounds like Kenny Beats, but you didn't say Kenny, so
the one that like did the interview where he was like, oh, I just kind of listen to music. And he can't read any music. He doesn't have any sort of musical background, but he just sort of listens.
Oh, Rick Rubin?
Yeah, Rick Rubin. That's who I'm talking about. So there's a whole debate going on about him. Whether
you could have listed off some credits, but you don't even know any credits.
Well, people were like,
you don't even know big albums he's done, do you?
No, what are the big albums he's done?
He did Biggie. I'm trying to remember which Biggie. To be honest, I don't know his exact credits, but I know that he worked with Biggie. He did like Nine Inch Nails. He did a whole bunch of big bands. Did Saint Anger, Metallica.
Okay. Well, anyway, there was this whole like kind of debate going on where people were like, "Oh, he's like he's a midwit," and others were like, "No, he's a genius. He's this, he's that." Like, I don't think it's either. I think he's just like a really good curator, and like he has good taste. And I think people appreciate someone like him now more than ever, when we're in a time where taste and stuff is being dictated by like soulless algorithms based on really superficial qualities. Like part of the reason why I hate TikTok is because it's like, oh, you're of this certain demographic, therefore I amalgamate that you'll be interested in this sort of content. And sometimes it gets me.
And you're like, damn it.
Sometimes it gets me.
I wish I wasn't this predictable.
Sometimes it gets me, but most of the time it doesn't get me at all. And it's frustrating because it's like almost stereotyping me in this really aggressive fashion. And it's very weird to feel that like you're being stereotyped in this like really aggressive fashion by a robot computer thing. And I think that that's the reason why someone like Rick Rubin is like super culturally relevant right now, and like younger people are discovering him because they never really got to experience like that kind of culture that was like crafted like by people with taste like him.
People
instead of just processes and like fucking spreadsheets.
Well, no,
and,
like people get
control groups and like, you know, and no, not to say that stuff didn't happen back then. It did, but it wasn't as like naked and also as easily like predictable because of digitization and stuff.
People get mad at Rick Rubin because they think the idea of being a producer is sort of actually, you know, plugging the microphones in and like making the record.
Yeah.
They don't really realize that there are definitely two skill sets that you need for a good producer, and you could either excel in both or one or the other.
Mm.
And I mean, there's that argument again of, is there really a jack of all trades, like master of none, right? So like you'd either, Rick Rubin is on the side of very much like hearing the feeling of what you're trying to do and then absolutely capturing and going with that feeling.
Mm.
Finding other things that you've written that also extend and suit and go around that other thing that you did so that you can make an album.
Mm-hmm.
Some other people are like, oh yeah, well, I know this fucking great bass player, and actually, oh, this is the best rig setup to do, and actually this is great, and if we get you guys together, you could jam out on this and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Very functional.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different kind of attitude and approach to making records, and I probably would put maybe someone like a Quincy Jones was probably more on that end of things. Less like, oh yeah, I really feel you, Michael, like whatever the fuck. It's more like, yeah, you've written a fucking hit and now let's put it together. I'm gonna put it together because I'm fucking Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas Rick Rubin's like, you're fucking Metallica.
Yeah.
Show me what you've done, and like let's like work to make the best Metallica album that we can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For what you're trying to do at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So it's a very different kind of approach.
Definitely. We went all over the place tonight, but we kind of came full circle.
It's just like how it goes. It's just like fucking podcast, bro. It doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a little conversation. It's just like a weekly chat about shit we've been thinking about.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is kind of what we've been thinking about.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, the AI stuff's definitely on the mind because all these
creative industries are being affected.
Yeah, well, it's not even just creative industry, but lawyers, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's all going to be totally fucking within question, potentially within a couple of years. And that's going to totally change, the shape of the economy in lots of different countries, including the one that we currently live in. So it certainly makes me nervous.
Me too. And I'm really interested to see which companies end up coming on top.
Yeah.
When we return to techno feudalism.
Definitely. But
yeah,
thanks for joining us.
And joining us tonight. We will catch you again next week with a fresh episode of Mystic in the Machine. See you guys later.
Peace, babe.
Good night.